Hello there. My name is Pavel Konecny. I'm the Chief Investment Officer at TriStar Trust. There are two charts that caught my attention over the last couple of days. And those two charts speak to the importance of appropriate asset allocation, but it also highlights some misnomers and some misunderstandings as it relates to capital markets. The first chart talks about the stock market is not the economy. And these two charts are, by the way, from one of our providers of financial advice, Callan Associates, an investment advisor that advises of over $2.2 trillion worth of assets under management. And we use their research as well on behalf of our clients or for the benefit of our clients. But what this chart talks about is that there's this belief that the economy equals the stock market, meaning the economy is about to grow what everybody expects to be between 6 to maybe 8%, and it's automatically assumed that the stock market is going to grow in the same pace. Well, when you take a look at this particular chart, it highlights the slices of the economy as it relates to GDP, gross domestic product, employment, and the actual stock market. What you'll see, and I'll just highlight a couple of the biggest differences, is that as far as GDP is concerned and as far as employment is concerned, government, agriculture, and miscellaneous services account for 29% and 36% respectively, but they don't really have anything to do with the stock market. The flip side is that technology accounts for 6% of GDP and only 2% of employment. However, they account for 39% of the entire stock market. So the point here is that while there is correlation between GDP and employment and the performance of the stock market, as it relates to the individual components of the stock market, it becomes a little bit of a different animal. And that's where asset allocation is so important as part of the conversation with our clients. The second chart talks about risk and returns and how it has changed over the last 30 years. And this is important. 30 years ago, the capital market expectations. So this is when you take a look at what you can expect from the overall capital markets as far as returns and with what amount of risk. 30 years ago, the capital market expectations for a 7% return was basically you could have your money sitting in cash when taking very little risk and you can generate 7% in returns. 15 years later, in order to generate 7% in returns, you have to take a little bit more risk, meaning you have to introduce more equities, and then you have to take more risk as far as volatility is concerned. Now you go 15 years further, and in order to generate 7% in returns, you have to take your risk from 30 years ago, 1.1%, to 17.3% in order to generate 7% in returns from capital markets. It also means that in order to get 7% now on the go-forward basis, you would have to be invested fully in equities. The point of this is that the realization that in order to look at historic returns and think that we're going to see them on a go-forward basis, we have to be paying attention to the appropriate asset allocation again. And we also need, as we plan for retirement and some of the other life events, we also need to be aware that as time goes, returns will decrease with a certain amount of risk. And in order to maintain certain return expectations, we're going to have to see an increases in risk taking.